I've just connected the battery. We've gone through various iterations. Oh shit, let's get that disconnected. E38 4.4 V8. Initially introduced in this car in 1996. This is one of the early ones. You might notice the rather beautiful romantic red individual paint. It's got an individual interior, it's got a TV. So the previous kind of videos on this one, if you're new to the channel, i.e. in the last 3 years, you probably wouldn't have seen any videos on this car because it's been parked up. It was the last car I bought along with my father-in-law, who sadly passed away a few years ago. We still got his Maserati 3200 GT, we've still got his L322 Range Rover. You might have seen some bits and pieces on that. But essentially, my father back in the day had the previous generation 7 Series. I was lucky enough to drive that. It was a 3-litre V8, believe it or not. They did that for a tiny period of time, I think around about 1992. When I saw this car come up at auction, I just had to buy it. It's one previous owner. It's got 85,000 miles. It's the spec and it's just a beautiful thing. However, life gets in the way. Things are sent to challenge us. Parked it up, started it occasionally, and on one occasion we didn't get the battery light stayed on. Sure indicator that the alternator or something akin to that is failing. So I think it's the internal windings, but in the whole diagnostic process, I started tapping it with a hammer because sometimes the little brushes in there start to get furred up a little bit in connections. And sometimes a little bit of WD-40. So it wasn't surprising when I replaced ultimately the transformer rectifier to turn the AC voltage into DC 12 volt. It kicked into life, but there seems to be an internal problem with that. So the diagnostic process so far, stick a voltmeter on the battery when the engine stopped, start the car and see if the voltage rises, and that'll let you know whether there is any voltage getting to the battery. So you should expect something around about the 14 volts or 13.8 or thereabouts output of the alternator. The alternator has been out and in already. I've replaced one of the belts and the 2 pulleys because you may as well do that, and now I've got the AC belt to do as well. The big book says that you've got to drain the coolant system, but I managed to find a way where I was able to get the shroud off and get the fan off and get the alternator out. So this will be a rather condensed version. First of all, the screwdriver goes up, you basically loosen the clicks, and this comes up and out. Same on the other side. This is the expansion tank. Undo the cap. That'll let you get it. This little, take the plug out, and these little clips, one on each side. Remember to put that in before juggling it out of position. There are 2 kind of poppers in here. However, first time around, you probably have to chisel them out and replace them with something new. So that means the shroud is now kind of loose and out of the way. Now, this viscous coupling on the fan. They say you need special tools for all of this nonsense, but you do not. If you have got a 32mm spanner, this is just a shifting wrench and a hammer. There is a opposite thread nut on the main viscous fan, of course. This has been off already, but a little bit of percussion as you loosen. Hopefully we'll see it. There we go. Nut is loosened. Do it clockwise. If you're going to do the belt and tensioners, this needs to be off really. Otherwise you'll really struggle to get especially the smaller belt for the air conditioning on. So there we go. That's out. And we have one fan released. One fan released. My only fan. Only fans. Right. So before you do anything with belts, draw a little diagram which way they go. is the right side as you look at the engine. So it goes down all the way around the bottom, round the tensioner, over the top and under the main tensioner there. So these are the two tensioner pulleys. One goes that way to tension the belt, and the other one stays pretty fixed because it's on the pivot point. This is the tensioner bit anyway. Two bolts. One that you remove on the spindle, the other one is the kind of the nipping it up, and the belt should effectively just fall away at that point. Always a matter of checking the new belts, and they match. Belts aren't that expensive, but they are rather an inconvenience when they go. The bugger is at the back disconnecting the main HT leads, or the main battery leads. One goes up into the engine, the other one goes straight back to the battery. 13mm on a little extension, and we're going round the back now to release the nut. That's the main bolt that we're looking to release, and that's the little clip that just comes off. It just pinches and comes off that way on a wire. Oh, that was it. Kind of hoping once I get it broken, I can get in here. You can't get the alternator far enough forward when you remove it to access this bolt. It's the most fiddly bit of the operation. A little bit tight, I've still got the war wounds to show, but hopefully we'll get this one fixed. This is a passion for me, trying to keep old stuff on the road. You learn lots. What you don't know, there's always YouTube, and hopefully this will help you along the way if you're thinking of changing the alternator in your 7 Series. The later cars, the facelifted ones from 2001 onwards, had also a coolant cooled alternator. This one's purely air cooled, which makes it so much easier. You do not have to drain the coolant and to replace the non-air cooled version. In order to get at that third bolt, you need to prise off a little the little center cap off here. There's a little plastic cap here. So here we have the tensioner. New bolts, different idler pulleys, are different part numbers on this one. One has got a slightly smaller bolt, which is a bolt hole in the center, which is this one under the cap, and this one has got the longer one. So 3 different lengths of bolts, and you'll see that the penetration is absolutely the same, but because this one has got the extra 17 to do the tensioning. So there you go. Now is the time to replace your tensioners if need be. There are 3 bolts holding it on. The one that I missed initially was the one at the very bottom, and then it just kind of shuffles out. There's the main nut and one connector at the back. So I have lifted this up a little. Hopefully I'll get enough room. I found if you tilt forward the alternator, remove it from its air duct, unclip the little thing at the back, and for God's sake, if you've got a cruise control unit, make sure you don't rip your arm open on these little spiky bits in here. Let's see if we can get it manoeuvred out. This is back-breaking stuff. In and out, shake it all about. Alternators are bloody heavy little things. And the last thing you want to do is damage it on the radiator. So carefully does it. Get into position where I can lift it out, not drop it, and not damage the radiator. So there you go, alternator out with a little bit of effort. And that's the little air vent I'm talking about. Got to swap this across to the new one, taking note of the exact position. But apart from that, then the other one's ready to go in. I was looking for part numbers. The original BMW unit. There it is, 12311 433266, 120 amp, 14 volts. And the Lucas one that I have to replace it is LRA 02034, about £270 and £50 back when I put this one back in a box and send it back for reconditioning. Oh, right, now that I've had a break, now to wrestle this one back in again. So it's got to eventually end up that way round, but in order to get it in and round, it's got to go kind of in this way. Or whatever way it was, I took the other one out. There it is. So there's the air duct in first, in through a little gap. Now kind of turning it round tipping it. Once I can get the cables attached, certainly the control cable, it snaps onto the back. So before we do anything else, got to put the air vent back on. Got to nip up these 13mm, 3 of them for the alternator. Little extension for the bottom one. By far the most difficult part is getting the electrical connections. Remember, there are 2 main thick wires as well as the little push connector. That is the 13. Not too worried about actual torques, just tight enough but not too tight. 30 years working in cars, I've kind of got the feel of it. Right, if you're going to put new tensioners on or new idle pulleys on, this tensioner looks okay, the spring is intact, and that's all it is a little compression spring. So we noted the 3 different sizes of bolt in there. The longest one, of course, is on the pulley, and because it's got a little spline inside, I am going to do that first. So in she goes. So the top 2 are not being tightened fully until I tension, get the belt on and do the final tension. So, but I want them up kind of finger tight. What I will do is I will fully tighten the one that was on the idle pulley, because that's acting as the pivot for the rest. That's good, and I'm just going to nip that one up before I stick the belt back in. Now remember the diagram that I had earlier? That's when it comes into its element. Take a photograph if need be. That's what I've got on my phone. And don't forget to put the little plastic cover on there, because when you fit the fan, it's going to be really difficult to get these into position. Tell me how I know. All good. Now, trick with the belt. I've got it in so the writing is facing me, and using that diagram I had earlier, hopefully I can remember which way around it all goes. All seated nicely on. And now, it's a 2-handed job. 17mm on here just to tension the pulley whilst we nip up the little lock nut. So you'll see what way, the spring's always under tension. You get this under the way, and all I'm going to do is tension that one up, hold the tension, whilst I nip up this little lock nut in the centre. All the tension's held in the spring, and of course remember to nip up the final one. Well, I've got the evidence to prove it. The viscous fan has got to go on next, but what I'm going to do is test the alternator in place whilst it is. Before I go and do that, I need a little multimeter. Battery light is out. .2 at 12.3, 12.5. Battery light is out.